Hey guys, I'm Vincent Napoli. I'm the lead system designer here at Sony Santa Monica.
Hey, and I'm Mihir Sheth. I'm a senior combat tech designer, and we're excited today to walk you through a bit more of an in-depth look at combat, and we're gonna get started.
Yeah, we're glad everyone's got a chance to check out the game now, and we're really happy about all the positive feedback we're getting, and figured we'd kind of do like a little bit of a detailed look at some of the gameplay stuff here.
So just going at it right now, looking at the duo of Kratos and Atreus working together. We can see here that the Draugr in front of us is actually on fire because he was affected by burn. So there's a mechanic that you've probably seen in the game where barehanded attacks, Atreus's arrows, and other things can build up the stun meter, which gets built under the enemy's health. And when that meter is full, you can perform a stun grab on them. And against the Draugrs here, doing a stun grab will cause them to explode and deal burn damage to all enemies around them.
And we've cheated a little bit here. We've kind of unlocked some of abilities that Kratos and Atreus are going to get a little bit later, like the precision throw here, which is I think one of the cooler parts of the thrown axe is if you land a critical throw on an enemy, and then you'll sort of notice this flare up, a little bit of a lens flare, and then if you recall the axe right at that exact time, you'll sort of charge the axe up, which lets you do either a combo throw or your next attack sort of has additional properties on it.
So that was a really cool setup. Kratos froze an enemy with an axe, kicked it into another enemy, frosted that enemy, launched him into the air, and then threw his axe to impale him into a tree. So those are the types of pretty interesting setups that the axe allows you to do. And actually, Vince over here worked on the axe a bunch and can tell you a bit more about the types of things it can do.
Didn't we started with the impale, right? That was the very first thing we did with the thrown axe was. Once we impaled the guy, we're like, all right, maybe we should throw this axe.
Some juggling action into the wall, build some stun.
Yeah, we got a little bit of launching and some air juggling, which I think a lot of people were a little worried might not carry over from the franchise, but
plenty of it. We'll see some cool setups with that. So over here, Atreus runs up, and he'll be doing this a lot in combat. He'll jump up on an enemy and kind of like choke onto them for a while, and it leaves them incapacitated for a bit. And when they're in that state, it gives you a few options. So in that clip that we just saw, Kratos goes to go for a launch, and when he launches an enemy, Atreus will jump up, cause the enemy to bounce off the ground, and that will do massive stun damage.
Yeah, I think Atreus is a little bit, he's upgraded here as well, right? Because there's a...
Yeah, he gets a lot of options, just like you can upgrade Kratos in his moveset. You can also do the same for Atreus, and I think people will be surprised the more they play the game what that can lead to. We've done a lot. We're excited to see what people do with the types of combinations, because that's one thing that I think will be really different about this game is Atreus brings something different to every fight, and so a lot of the fights end up playing out really dynamically. And over here we have a Hellreaver, and Hellreavers are actually resistant to the Leviathan Axe because the frost element, and so here's barehanded combat is the best way to go about that.
Usually they're more annoying than that, but I think he was kind of ready for that one. Played this one before.
Yeah, so throughout the world you'll find chests like these, and they'll reward you with different types of
legendary
attacks.
Chests, right?
Yeah, legendary chests. And so this one over here gives you a runic attack called Hell's Touch. And so the way runic attack works is that they're gems that you can essentially slot into the Leviathan Axe,
which we're going to see in detail here, it looks like.
Yeah.
This tutorial for...
Yeah, going through all of that. It's pretty... There's quite a lot for you to find, and there's a light and heavy runic attacks variants, and they do different types of things. Some of them apply a lot of stun, some of them frost enemies, some of them do AoE damage, some of them do line damage. So this one over here it's like a really quick burst, and we're going to see how Kratos uses it in just a bit.
That was, I think, the first one that most of the team just played the entire game through, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's the simplest.
Let's go.
Not yet.
It's the simplest attack.
Yeah, it's like the first one you get, but it's still useful. It's like a good vanilla choice, always safe.
Corey just plays the entire game with it, I think. Refuses to switch.
I'm slipping.
Stay calm. Almost there.
And I remember like all the iterations of the scene. This was one of the earliest scenes we had.
That wasn't so bad.
Slow Down. Your haste will cost us.
I always wonder what Kratos
Sorry.
is looking at right over here.
He doesn't care about the enemies.
Yeah.
He's not that worried.
More Draugr. But these aren't moving. Are they dead?
So the enemies that we've highlighted primarily in this video are the Draugr, and they're the most common enemies that you'll find in the game. We have lots of different variants of them, and you know, sometimes they're just hanging out in the environment like this, where you don't know if they're alive or whether they're just kind of turned to stone. That was a nice weapon switch. So you can kind of sheathe your axe in the middle of combat and switching to bare hand, and that's what he did right over there.
He's also got some permafrost on the axe, it looks like, which is a skill you'll get a little bit later than here usually, but if you're able to get a series of hits without getting interrupted in a short time span, the axe sort of supercharges with a permafrost ability, which means that every hit you do starts to apply frost to enemies. It also increases damage and does some other secret things under the hood.
Once you unlock that ability, the key to combat is basically keep your pressure up and don't get hit, and you'll be rewarded. I think this is the axe recall that is famous on the internet for a bit, right there. The well-positioned axe recall goes through 3 enemies. It's definitely an advanced skill to using the axe, is knowing like where to be and how to throw it out and when to recall it.
I feel like that was an accident. He didn't do that on purpose, but he's getting credit for...
That was actually a charged axe throw. Sometimes you'll see like a little blue spark on the axe light up, and you can charge the throws to do more damage and more frost.
It does not matter if you fire only once. Show me control.
Quality advice, just in general. We could all learn a bit from Kratos.
He's full of tips the whole game, I think.
Yeah.
Look at this.
So every once in a while you'll see these
Read it.
these green shards on the ground, and those give you health. But what's kind of cool about them is that when Kratos gets health, he steps on them, and actually small radius around that you'll actually hit enemies back. And so there's some pretty there's some pretty cool setups that you can do by continuing like little like off the ground combos by triggering the health pickup.
Something's breaking through the wall.
We've got a new enemy intro here, the Heavy Draugr. This guy's a lot more buff. He's tankier, hits harder.
He'll eat some of your attacks, and
Yeah,
he's
so
got
that attack just had a yellow flash, and that means that that attack must be parried. It cannot be blocked. So over there, you'll see it break through the block. But right there, good parry.
Oh, because he had the because he was hitting him in the back, right? He got increased stun.
Yep, yeah, you build increased stun if you hit enemies in the back. And so there's certain combos and certain setups that make that a bit easier. Also, slowing enemies using the frost property of the axe will help you do that. That was pretty sweet. Frozen enemies can be kicked out. That was a nice ring out over there.
Oh, here we go. We got
Yeah, so in the game you can collect talismans, which can augment your abilities, and that talisman allows the Realm Shift ability, which can be triggered by a last-second dodge. And he used the opportunity in that Realm Shift to use one of the other runic attacks that has been unlocked for the purpose of this video, called the Glaive Storm.
Yeah, Glaive Storm will basically, the axe sort of has a mind of its own, and it'll seek out sort of anyone you can see and hit all of them before returning. It's a pretty good fire and forget runic attack.
Do you hear that? What is it?
We will see. Stay close.
It's one of the things I never saw people comment about in this video, but actually, when you're climbing up and around this environment, you can see little pathways that there's some little chests hidden here and there. And that's one of the cool things about this level, is that there's a lot of places to explore, a lot of nooks and crannies. So over here, we're going to get introduced to the Revenant.
She's one of the first sort of specialized characters, right?
Yeah.
Kate ended up.
Yeah, Kate
Kate
Salzman was the designer who worked on her a lot. The trick with the Revenant is she's got this this barrier, and while it's up, she moves too quickly for the axe. So anytime you throw the axe or try to attack, she'll evade, and you need to trace his arrows to kind of keep her in place.
So this character was pretty frustrating for a long time internally, just because the type of character that is. But thought we ended up getting to a pretty good place there. It took a lot of tuning and iteration, but it feels like it's just evasive enough and just maneuverable enough that it's not super frustrating to fight, and you can kind of handle it, but it does require you to sort of do different things.
Yeah, I think it's funny the first time you fight the Revenant, you just by yourself, and you're like, oh, this isn't too bad, this is pretty easy. But then the whole magic to that enemy is when you pair it with different enemies, and then you realize like, uh-oh, this this enemy's a lot harder than I thought.
I guess we need to get
Yeah, then of
back
course
up.
later there'll be some sneakier Revenants with some additional abilities, and it gets even more complicated. So
So what's cool about that combo is actually when you do the fourth move of Kratos' light attack combo, when you send enemies flying back, it actually goes to where you're looking at with the camera. So player ended up looking towards the cliff and knocked an enemy out that way. But
well, he also did the some sneaky evade partitioning there.
oh yeah, some dodge offsetting.
Speak no more of this.
Let's see if we can see that again.
Behind you! Incoming fire!
Enemy right there stuck in a wall state. The enemy's gonna be pinned against the wall for a bit, and they'll take increased stun damage. That's a nice countering blast.
Draugr behind you!
Parry a projectile at the last second.
Yeah, it's the highest damage attack there with the Executioner's Cleave. That's pretty much the
Crowd pleaser. Yeah, so you saw over there, actually, a precision shot with the axe caused the enemy to spin around, and we talked a bit earlier about enemies taking more stun damage when they're hitting the back, and that's a good way to set it up.
Yeah, he actually followed up too with one of the later attacks you unlock with some of the recall attacks, which are some of the final
Over here.
sort of special things you can do sort of when you mix up the barehanded shield stuff between the axe.
Yeah, so normally you can press triangle to recall the axe, but once you unlock the recall attacks, you can actually do attacks that involve recalling the axe inside of them.
Even the world started.
Some of the more flashier stuff.
Oh. Thor must have smashed
Nice
this
story
up.
time with Atreus.
See? But look! Hrungnir's body squished him.
Kratos loves a good story also. He seems pretty...
He's got a few stories of his own. I was surprised. The more I played, I was like, I could listen to Kratos for a good while. Here we have a pickup that kind of gives you an option, so as you can guess, green gives you a bit of health, red is rage, going for the rage option there, very smart.
I'm sure he's full rage anyway, but just to be safe.
So you talked a bit about the evade partitioning earlier. You want to talk a bit more how that works?
Yeah, I mean, we especially with the new evade, we wanted to go with the idea that you could sort of have this option between sort of the get way out of dodge evade, going back several meters, sort of kind of like an ode to the old school evade, and then for people who wanted to sort of stay in combat, we kind of split the evade into two. So if you just evade once, you'll do sort of a quick sidestep. But if you attack out of the sidestep, we actually keep your place in the combo. So if you're 3 hits in and you have to dodge in order, to avoid interruption, if you attack quickly out of the first dodge, you'll actually just keep going in the combo, which was a pretty cool feature that.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things that a lot of players, they'll just kind of go through the combos and mash through. But for more advanced players, especially in harder difficulties, it's definitely one of the key tactics to keep your combos up and not get hit.
When you do it every once in a while accidentally, it's still kind of nice. You don't really ever not want to do it, so that's always good.
So the enemy we have over here is a higher level Hell Reaver, and you can see a little like frost armor all over it, and the axe is directly resistant, so you'll see it bounce off.
Sneaky Revenant.
Yeah, this fight always gets people. A couple of heavy Draugrs. In contrast to the first time when you fight her, I think people are always surprised in this fight.
I think on the God of War difficulty, this fight took me hours the first time I played it. It's probably one of the hardest fights in the game on that difficulty somehow.
That attack right over there is one of the few evade attacks we have. But actually I'm going to stop right there because we got some Spartan Rage action.
That's right, the ring out, there we go.
So you can see the red meter in the bottom of the screen, and once that fills up, you can press L3 and R3 and activate Spartan Rage. And in that mode, Kratos has a completely different moveset where he's barehanded but can rapidly punch enemies, slam the ground, and do a lot of other cool stuff that you can unlock.
I'm set!
There's a bunch of custom reaction stuff actually worked on right in here for rage mode, where enemies
Yeah.
basically react in sort of super crazy ways that you don't really see anywhere else in the game.
All right, guys. Well, that's all we have for now. But thank you so much for checking it out. If you dug what you saw, then check out the game, get it, play for yourselves. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, we're really excited, especially for people to check out the Give Me God of War difficulty. Internally on the team, we've been sort of hoping for some good YouTube videos and Twitch streams of playing on the hardest difficulty. So good luck.
プレイステーション